YouTube and Auburn fan base. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast talking to Auburn football. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. I want to thank you for your contributions to this channel. We are continuing to grow, and I definitely appreciate the growth. I definitely appreciate the support and the consistent comments, especially from our regulars. I'll give a name shout out, especially in the next video. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Now, video is not going to be a lot about analytics or stats, things of that nature. We're going to talk about Bryan Harsin for a minute. And I'm a person who is in the business mix. Yes, this is a car cast. I need to put my seatbelt on, and which I'm doing now. But either way, things do not happen overnight, especially in the day and age that we live in. And I think what has happened with Bryan Harsin is the fact that he's come behind two coaches, actually, who got things done pretty quickly, but they did. It's kind of like the coaches sprinted and then they drifted. Gene Chizik, in a couple of years of head coaching at Auburn, wins the national championship, then he drifts away. Coach Gus Malzahn, first year, goes to the national championship game, kind of sprint, sprint, and then kind of drifts towards the end. But either way, there has been historically where Auburn coaches have onboarded and had immediate success. For whatever reason, we're not going to dive into that. You talk about Terry Bowden back in the early 90s. First year, if Auburn would have been eligible to win the national championship, might have won the national championship that year. And see, here's the common denominator in all of that. Terry Bowden's first year had a whole lot of magic going on. You talk about all the interceptions in the LSU game or the Florida game. I can't remember which one. A lot of magic going on. Then you have Gene Chizik, that happened to have arguably one of the better athletes quarterback-wise in college football history, won the Heisman, Cam Newton, as his quarterback year 2. He took the team on his shoulder, won a national championship. That was a great year, though. But even still, when you dissect that season, as wonderful as Cam Newton was, the way he elevated his team's play to the next level, you still have single-digit wins over Mississippi State, single-digit wins over Kentucky. Things really didn't start to gel as this being a possible contender until later on in the season. I think when you look at the LSU game, I think that was one of the pinnacle moments, and I also think the Arkansas game, which I thought Arkansas had the better team. I was actually at that game. I expected Auburn to lose that game because Arkansas had a solid team, one of the more solid teams that they had in years. But even still, it's just too much magic. Too much magic, too much non-sustainability in all of those situations that you can't really rest your laurels on. And I think the Auburn fan base, or some of them, especially the ones that are clamoring that Bryan Harsin is not going to make it, and then not to mention some of the articles that come about that Bryan Harsin is not going to make it just because a freaking defensive coordinator decides to step down. I don't see how that spells doom and gloom, especially when you have players continue to onboard. And then you got players that, now if a mass amount of players decided to jump ship, then I'd be like, well, maybe this is not the guy. Offensive linemen are deciding to stay because maybe they have seen something that they want to be a part of. It has nothing to do with the coaches. Maybe, maybe not. But I just don't think, I think we overstate because we still don't understand the Bryan Harsin concept. So the question on the floor for all the Auburn fans and folks in college football is, does Bryan Harsin have it to lead Auburn to the place that Auburn feels like they want to go? What is that place, though? Well, I'd say let's just go with history. I know where Auburn wants to go. Auburn wants to win national championships. Every college football team wants to win a national championship at a certain point. But let's let history dictate this thing for a second. Can Bryan Harsin be the kind of coach that leads Auburn to a 9-10 win season a year? You know, an upper tier bowl, preferably a New Year's Six bowl. Maybe every 2 or 3 years make it to the SEC championship with a win, with a chance to go to the college football playoff. Is that something that Bryan Harsin can do? You know? Now, let's go back and let's talk about this. There are a lot of detractors as far as the Bryan Harsin thing goes because a lot of folks think, well, he can't do it. He don't have big names. Who the heck is Brett Schmetting or whoever the defensive coordinator is? Jimmy Brumbaugh, you know? And who the heck is Austin Davis? These names, the names, you know, are situational to where they're like, who are these guys? You know? But at the same time, Auburn fans and analysts that talk about the demise, the impending demise of Bryan Harsin. I'm not windmilling for Bryan Harsin. I'm not, for sure. Because I think the 5-game losing skid was absolutely terrible. So I'm not sunshine pumping for Bryan Harsin. At the same time, I think you got to give this guy a chance because all bullshit aside, all effery aside, you take away the transfer portal and how Bryan Harsin was able to get some guys in real quick. You take away that, and then you take away all the coaches leaving and coaches coming in. With what Bryan Harsin would have had left over, given opportunities in the junior college market to try to make something happen real quick, you're talking about a 3-9 season for Auburn last year, year one for Bryan Harsin, instead of 5-7. Now, do I think Bryan Harsin should have done better? Yes. But no one is willing to admit the impact, the injury of Owen Pappoe. No one is willing to give any kind of mitigation for the injury of Bo Nix. Now, I've been a harsh critic of Bo Nix. But goddamn it, when I tell you he played better down the stretch in this season to where I felt like he was the guy for Auburn. After the Georgia State game, he stepped his game up to another level, and he was the guy. When he got injured, I think it was in not the Arkansas game, but the Mississippi State game, when there was an epic collapse there. That's what I knew. Bo Nix would have beat South Carolina. Give a shit what y'all say. Bo Nix would have beat South Carolina. Given the scenario of the Alabama game, assuming everything kind of played out the way that it did, I think Bo Nix would have had an opportunity there. Definitely would have had an opportunity against Houston. But either way, there were some detractors. There were some things that happened in this season that kind of went against the favor of year one for Bryan Harsin. So, again, the question on the floor is, given the fact that, you know, he's got his coaching staff together, got rid of Derek Mason, another distraction, got rid of Mike Bobo, another distraction, Bo Nix, a distraction, has got some quarterbacks that I think he's got a diverse level of talent in the quarterback room. And he's got a lot of his offensive linemen coming back. The question on the floor, guys, gals, man, there's some ladies in the on this channel that really support. I definitely appreciate that. I don't want to make this all boys club here, because there was a lot of ladies that support the channel, and I appreciate that. Matter of fact, tell some of your girlfriends to help us out, grow the channel some more. Question on the floor. What y'all think about Bryan Harsin? As a matter of fact, the pressure is on for Bryan Harsin. Why? It's so much success going on around him. Directly in his backyard. Number one, Alabama is not going to stop. Alabama had a depleted football team that almost won a national championship. Georgia, the biggest rival, one of the biggest rivals for Auburn outside of Alabama, won the national championship. LSU, they're kind of limping around a little bit. But now, you have a situation where, man, you got a good basketball team on campus at your university that is number one in the country. Legit. Like, these guys are actually pretty good. So now the pressure's on for Bryan Harsin. Can he answer the call? I remember this nice speech that Martin Luther King had, because I'm a adamant follower of his speeches because they're so inspirational. Not necessarily because of a racial standpoint, because of the universal trajectory that Martin Luther King has. He said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for whom the bell tolls, but it tolls for thee. If you're ready to answer the call, that's what he was trying to say. It doesn't matter for whom the bell tolls, but it tolls for thee. If you're ready to answer the call, you will do it. And Bryan Harsin, now is your time to answer for whom the bell tolls. Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. I am your Auburn enthusiast, and keep it real. Like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. I wish that you will tell a friend about our channel. And as always, for sure, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. Ward,